So, in today's episode of It's Never Gonna Matter to MAGA, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and this plane that he is getting from Qatar. And, folks, these kind of stories for me are honestly frustrating to even cover because you can see the giant red flags all over this one, but there's not a whole lot you can do to really make MAGA ever stop and think, wait a minute, why would they give him something like this? Why would they gift him something this big? Is this a bribe? Don't it kind of look like one to you? They would never entertain that. They would absolutely rake Bernie Sanders over the coals, though, for riding around on a plane, and we're going to talk more about that later. But they could never wrap their mind around the idea that Donald Trump has ever done anything wrong, and he should just be allowed to take whatever gift gets thrown his way because he'd be stupid not to. I mean, who wouldn't do it, man? So I'm going to go here to this article from NPR, and we're going to break this story down and just react to it in real time. And I want to thank y'all so much for supporting what it is that I do here in this crazy world we live in. We've crossed over 700,000 subscribers. We're cruising toward 800. And I do believe we can get to 1 million before the year's over at the rate we're going. So if you haven't already and like this kind of content, it's not doesn't cost anything to do so. Just hit that button and help us get there. And I truly do appreciate all of you. But here we go. Trump says he'd be stupid to turn down Qatar's offer of a new plane. President Trump on Monday scoffed at concerns raised about Qatar's offer to replace Air Force One with a luxury Boeing 747 jet, calling it a nice gesture, and he would be stupid to turn it down. I mean, of course he's going to say that. It's a gift. He's going to his eyes are going to light up like a Christmas tree, and now he's going to listen to anything they want him to listen to, wouldn't you think? So the offer, which was first reported by ABC News, comes on the eve of Trump's visit to the Middle East. The president is scheduled to visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Hope I said that right. It would be one of the biggest foreign gifts ever received by the U.S. government and raises legal and ethical questions. Well, of course it does, but MAGA has no respect for the rule of law and they have no ethics. So I don't know where this is going to get us. But now Trump said this, and don't worry, I'm not going to play the clips. I did see some of them and it made me nauseous. But he said, I mean, I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive plane. I thought it was a great gesture. Trump said that the existing Air Force One jets were old and extremely expensive to maintain and said that replacements from Boeing had been delayed. He told reporters that Qatar's leaders offered him a replacement to use until the new Air Force One jets are ready. And Trump said it was not a gift to him, but a gift to the Defense Department in recognition of the role the United States plays in the security for the region. And he said, I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much. I would never be one to turn down that kind of offer. Of course he wouldn't. In his first term, Trump struck a deal with Boeing to supply the next generation of Air Force One planes. And under the terms of the deal, Trump agreed to pay $3.9 billion for two customized 747s. But the president has expressed frustration about the time the aircraft manufacturer is taking to deliver the aircraft. Now, Democrats say this is a conflict of interest, and I can go ahead and tell you that they're beating a dead horse here. Trump said that the plane from Qatar would be decommissioned once he's out of office, and it would be put on display at his presidential library, like the plane in Ronald Reagan's presidential library museum. He said he would not use the plane after leaving office. Are you going to really hold your breath on that one? A senior White House official who spoke on condition because they were not to be authorized to speak publicly said Qatar won't present the plane to the president in Qatar this week. And Democrats on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee said these kinds of gifts from foreign governments are barred by the Constitution and said they would press for the Senate to vote on it. And I want to stop right there for a minute and say, Donald Trump has the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court. I admire everyone that wants to bring these votes up, but since him taking office, or even before that, when did he have any respect for the courts or any decision or anything? He doesn't. That's why this is so frustrating to sit back and watch. It's because I can hear people, pounding the drum and saying the Democrats need to do something, but the Democrats really at this particular point in time can scream all day long, and what's he going to do? I mean, he's just going to come back and say, oh, I'd be stupid not to take it. So This was Cory Booker said this: Air Force One is more than just a plane, it's a symbol of the presidency and of the United States itself. Any president who accepts this kind of gift, valued at $400 million from a foreign government, creates a clear conflict of interest, raises serious national security questions, invites foreign influence, and undermines public trust in our government. And that was also Brian Schatz and Cory Booker. Chris Coons said that. I agree 100%. I completely agree with everything it is that they're saying right there. Representative Joe Courtney, a Democrat from Connecticut, said that Air Force had confirmed last week that Boeing would deliver the new Air Force One in 2027. It is important to remember that Air Force One is not just some gold-plated luxury jet. It requires extensive advanced security and communication capabilities, Courtney said in a statement, noting that retrofitting the plane would distract from the efforts to speed delivery of the new fleet. So now this is one of those things where we can sit back and we can call it out all day long. And we can point to how it looks, but there are some in MAGA that aren't too happy about it themselves, and one such person is Laura Loomer. And so I'm going to bring this up here. She is not happy about this. And I am no fan in any way when I say this. I'm in no way a fan of Laura Loomer. I think she's an absolutely disgusting, racist person. She's put that on display so many times. But she doesn't care to rock the boat. She doesn't care to speak against Trump if she feels a certain way. And then, Elon will come along and knock her off X for a few days and she'll kick and scream. But I want to show you this here that she posted. She said this: I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him. Oh yeah, we know. We absolutely know that you would. She said, but I have to call a spade a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits. The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies and Hamas and Hezbollah who have murdered U.S. service members, the same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such a stain on the administration if this is true. And I say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump. I am so disappointed. Notice she had to get in there twice. She'd take a bullet for Trump. That's her way of saying, that's code for saying, hey, Elon, please don't remove me from Twitter again. But as far as him putting a stain on his administration, he's already put a stain on American history. He's already put a stain on American democracy. He has already stained our society and culture for years to come, and it's going to take many years of long, hard work to ever get the toothpaste to even remotely go back in the tube. So if I was her, I wouldn't worry too much about him staining our history. But these people are such massive, over-the-top hypocrites when it comes to this stuff, because I saw a clip the other day, and I was going to do a video on it just by itself because it's worth talking about. Bernie Sanders was on Fox News, and they were saying, how can you fight the oligarchs and ride around on an expensive plane? They'll ask Bernie this type of question. Take a look.
You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's scratching the itch that voters want to hear from?
I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear action to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
So yeah, they always hold Democrats and people like Bernie Sanders to a completely different standard than they ever would Donald Trump. Bernie can't fight the oligarchs riding around an expensive plane, but hey, he can take a $400 million plane from Qatar, and that's cool, man. He'd be stupid to turn something like that down. That is the type of blatant hypocrisy that we're up against. And shout out to my good buddy Boston Smiles. I saw a video where he was talking about Bernie and the plane, and he made the great point that FDR was a very wealthy dude who ended up giving us the New Deal and who ended up digging us out of the Great Depression. So I don't begrudge Bernie Sanders for riding around in a plane and speaking against billionaires and wanting to see other people have a fair shot in this world. I admire Bernie that at this age he's still out there going, and I'm pretty sure he knows he's not going to run for president and he's not going to be president for 8 years at his age. We all know that. But I admire the fact that he's still out there trying, and he's been pushing the same message for all these years. And there's people who will laugh, like Elon will mock and use that against him and go back and show how he's been talking about it for years. And he doesn't realize that while he may feel like that's a flex toward Bernie, it actually just proves Bernie's point. But MAGA and Donald Trump is such hypocrites that these type of stories are so frustrating to pin down, because you just automatically know that no matter what happens, they're going to find a way to give him a pass. But all you have to do is just play the game of, what if this was President Biden? What if this was Hillary Clinton? What if this was Barack Obama? If Barack Obama just so much as sat down with anybody to try to negotiate peace, they would say he's palling around with the terrorists. But Trump can get, Jared Kushner can get $2 billion or trillion, however much it was, from the Saudis. Trump can get this plane. He's a good man, buddy. He don't even take salary for being president. Yeah, I got some oceanfront property right here in East Tennessee. I'd be glad to sell it to you.